Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be testing out further updates that I did for Random Flow, and of course we have the mask. The masks operators are now in their own submenu, and you can quickly access this using, of course, Shift Q, pressing M, Shift Q, Shift Q, M, or pressing 1, 2, and 3, or you can just manually go over there and use like any of this operator. And when you try to use the main menu again, it will be situated in that sub menu, and you can just select it. Then we have the random offset. Random offset is for if you want to manually randomize the offset after the randomization operation. So for example, if I do this and I do just even depth without any randomization, so I can just go in and use pre-select to select the top faces of the islands. Okay, let's just select this, for example. And then you can use random offset. You can use this in edit mode or object mode. And when you use this, it's going to start out like this. You can, of course, toggle off the uniform offset and begin just randomizing. So that shadow over there is because we should set this to shade auto smooth. And okay, so you have the minimum and the maximum here, and whichever the highest number is, for example, minimum becomes the higher number, then that becomes the maximum. So you don't have to worry about setting this as the smallest number. Then of course you can randomize. We have scale, which is basically the thickness, and we have the margin, and we also have a toggle which will default to off every time you use the operation, and that will remove the original border edges in the selection, which in this case is quite useful in this case because you can see this line here, the sharp edge. And without this toggle, you need to make it disappear, you need to actually just manipulate the scale to kind of align the faces together. But when you're using random values, that will not be the same for each of the faces. So our face groups, so you can toggle this on and that disappears. This is also useful to create kind of like a bevel effect on the islands. So let's see, extrude. There's also going to be a preset, so it's just extrude and intrude. And yeah, so kind of like that. And random panels, the presets have been changed. Some of the presets have been changed, and also the use face tags and use face tags inverted preset has been introduced to, of course, go in line with the new update, which is the masking system. So for now, the only operator that will recognize the masking feature is random panels. It remains to be seen if that could work with other operators, but common sense wise, random panels will be the one to use it because it's the most intuitive to use when it comes to generating sci-fi panels details. Okay, and so the offset, random offset, the reason that random border edge defaults to off every time you use the operation is because of this. See, it removes the original edge, border edge from the selection, and you don't want that for this scenario. You only want that for this type of scenario here. let's just undo the, so like I said, to get rid of the sharp, like if we increase the scale, to get rid of this, you can just use this. Okay. Okay, so let's use this for example. So, and also random panels is um, updated as well. It's going to be updated as well. Random panels, no, panel cut is going to be updated as well. There's been some changes inside the script to make the inset faster, just a little bit faster. And it will work because it's designed to work with the masking system now. So let me just delete this random object. I'm going to mirror this, subdivide, and just mask some of the faces so we can use it as an example. So mask, tag faces mask, and for the split, this creates its own panel islands that is not going to be randomized. The only thing that's going to be randomized is this pure white vertex color and this 0.9 value vertex color, and they can be inverted. But this here will be its own panel islands without any inversion. And the last one, clear, basically just immunizes those faces from inset or extrusion. So you don't, the faces can still be there, but there's no extrusion, which is useful for areas that are generating geometric distortions and you don't necessarily want to use the split option for the wrap method or for the what is it, for the cut method, wrap and split. So you can just immunize that part to make it not extrude and generate any geometric distortions. Okay, so let's use the mask. Oops, not the mask, the random panels. And let's use face tags inverted. So this means that I don't want the white vertex color here to be the one just generating the detail. I want it to be inverted and use the mask instead. Okay, random panels and use face tags inverted. So every preset in the random operation starts out with zero subdivision because to avoid freezes. So if the user accidentally uses the operator on high res or ultra high res selection, then that could result in a freeze or a crash or essentially a freeze. That is why the cuts is set to zero every time, and you have to increase this to actually see the effect of the preset. This is true for every operator. Okay, so you can see here the split becomes its own island, which is also affected by the random depth. But if you randomize, it doesn't get affected by or generate any random details. Okay. Or so I'm going to just look out for something that I could use or something that looks good to me. I'm just going to turn off randomization so I could show you how to use it for panel cuts or panel cutter. So to use it for panel cutter, you have to turn this on, sharpen face tags. That means that the border edges from the split mask and the clear mask will also be marked sharp. And besides the one that is the faces that are from the randomized face islands. So turn this on. That way we can we can manipulate the islands more in the or the generated face islands using or by adding and removing mark sharp edges, and then using panel cutter to generate the extrusion, because random panels cannot do that. Random panels will only generate these islands via randomization. So once you finish with the pattern, you can just either use the new parameter here, mark only, of does nothing, new mesh. The mark sharp edges is given to you using a new mesh with the source object subdivided, and then uh, has the mark sharp edges. The merges it to the source object. Therefore, it's a destructive operation. If you don't want that, just go for new mesh. And then let's hide the source object, and we're given this. Okay. Now we can add or remove mark sharp edges. So for example, here's sharp. And this one, I want this to be mark sharp. Sharp. And so this is really good if most of the pattern, you like most of the pattern, but some areas you didn't like. So you do this way to edit the uh, result. So Control E. Oh my god, the screencast. Control E, mark sharp, and then once you've finished, then you can actually, let me just add this. Oops, mark seam, mark sharp. Select everything and go to. Oh, do not select everything. Just to avoid greater processing. To select everything, and then go to inset and then select sharp. So you have this. So there's a new parameter as well, which is dissolve. This is going to dissolve uh, the the object. Basically, gets rid of the edges, except for the mark sharp edges, and you essentially get this. And that is to speed up the operation uh, using this option right here. Speed up this operation versus using all the geometry, and it's gonna be slower. So if you want to play around with the random depth, just go ahead and dissolve, and then play with the depth set, depth seed, and then once you have the one that you like, you can. And if you want to keep the quad structure, go ahead and turn off the dissolve parameter. So in this case, I'm not going to use random depth because we're going to use random offset after. So dissolve is off, and we have this. So now we can either select multiple face islands or the top of them, and then randomize their offset, or we can select again a single face island sets or multiple, and then use just uniform values. So in this case, I'm going to demonstrate the random values first, selecting this faces. So do not select the side faces. We only need to extrude the top faces. Okay, and this one, and this one, this one also. So again, you can use this in edit mode or in object mode. Let's just go in object mode, and so we don't have to see the edges. Overlay, random offset, and extrude. Oh, we forgot to shade out the smooth. Extrude, and then increase the extrusion. So if you want to get rid of the sharp border edge, you can just go ahead and remove border edges. And to initiate randomization, you need to toggle off the chain icon here and basically play around with the values. And then you can random seed them. So you can go negative on this. Okay. And you also have the uniform offset, which is useful for things like this. So if this is random, it's gonna look like that. So get rid of the border edge. And if you want the sheet to be uniform, you have to click on the uniform offset. And you can, of course, use things like intrude and then create a margin to get something like this. Okay, let's give this some kind of bevel effect and use extrude. In this case, do not remove the border edge and just increase the scale. So it kind of gives it that beveled look. So with this new addition to random flow, it's easier for you to get the gribbling look out and actually make it an actual practical model. So basically removing the randomized look. And in later videos, I'm going to show you how to, if you missed out on actually repairing the face islands, I can show you tricks to actually repair this stuff manually using the actual geometry. To actually join them into faces, but you need to actually get rid of the separation of the final islands by selecting everything and just merging. So they now become a whole mesh. So to merge this, you just basically select this side faces, delete them, and use F2 for this, basically joining them together, and then Control Alt Shift, Control Alt Shift, right click on an edge to select this row of edges, and then X C to collapse, and then get rid of the mark sharp. There you go. That is uh, good for islands that have the same height. If not, you have to make them the same height by basically using the normal or the literal XYZ axis to, so for example, this one, to scale them towards that axis and pressing 0, and that will flatten them towards that axis. So it doesn't work on really on organic surfaces where it's, of course, organic surfaces are quite bumpy, but it gets you there. Okay, so uh, random offset, quite useful also to create stuff like this. Let's get back to extrude and offset. Let's give it a margin and using pre-select, selecting this to create some kind of handle. And you can start just extruding parts for that tertiary or secondary detail. So extrude and give it a margin, reduce the scale, reduce the offset, so something like that. Just tiny bumps. You can extrude it or intrude it. Intrude. Much better than actually using the actual vanilla offset because you can set the settings right here and just you can actually probably use Shift R to repeat the action. No. So yeah, something like that. So that is the workflow you can use uh, to control the randomization, the depth, and other things. Now let's give this a material. I'm going to go back on an earlier live stream, Control C, and go back here, Control V, and then delete this. The material is already here. Sign material, random flow. Okay, I think this uses the vertex color. So we're going to get rid of the face tags or hide it and use this. So we can't use islands because we've separated it, but we can use sharp and mark sharp. Okay, and not the prettiest, not the prettiest crate that I have made, but yeah, just to demonstrate the process. More brutal. It's kind of like a those brutal architecture. Okay, so after this, you can just you can choose to limit dissolve and just triangulate to save up on resolution. Then you can use this on your scene, which is going to be much lighter than actually using this um, kind of resolution, or you can limit not that yeah, limit dissolve and then quad slice XYZ and yeah, so already choose 0.01 distance and all faces and okay 0.025. There we go. There's going to be some tries and some ingons, but you can just filter them out using Shift G, polygon sides, and greater if it's greater than 4 sides. So these are the ingons. You can just easily repeat those, fix those, not repeat those. And then for tries is less than. And those are our tries. Again, those can easily be fixed. If you know your way around topology, and then these are easily fixed. Why maintain the quad structure? Because if you need to model again, you can. It's easier to model stuff with quad structure if you're a fan of quads. But I am a fan of quads, tries, and ingons, so I will use them to my advantage. There's nothing wrong with ingons or tries. You are limiting yourself if you are just using quads. Okay. So for example, if I don't really care about the quad structure, limit to solve, and I want to triangulate it, and if I need to add some detail, I'll just use the knife. Much easier. There's no quad structure in the way to actually distort this drawing. There you go. Or use Creative Flow's draw cut or something like that. Draw a circle, and then from this space here, draw a square, include that. There you go. So that is the advantage of ingons. And ingons also allow you to control the quad structure. To better qualify quads, you need ingons and tries to manipulate the resolution. So for those, if you see people that are really like a fan of quads, I think not to insult anyone here, I think they are mostly just beginners. If you are modeling for years, you will be a big fan of ingons and tries. Trust me. And uh, in terms of placement, number one will be ingons, number two will be tries, and number three will be quads. In your favorites, trust me, if you're modeling for a long time, that will be your favorite placement. Okay, so triangulate. You can reduce this to ingons again using just Alt J, limit dissolve again. So there's nothing wrong with triangulation. If you see this kind of distortion, that means that you need to manually triangulate this. That's why you see some of the old videos of modelers for games. They tell you that the game engine or the render engine sort of like that triangulates the models automatically, but the modelers of those era just triangulate them manually. It's because of this, to avoid shading error in those applications. So you can see here, I think this is the root cause. Let's delete this. There we go. Okay, it's still there. I think we can get rid of the zero area faces using cleanup and degenerate dissolve. Select a mesh, cleanup, decimates. I think it's generate dissolve, but it's not mapping. But you get the idea. Okay, so it's much lighter. You can duplicate this without any problem. Blender can handle lots of this. Don't worry about that. It can handle billions of polygons. You see the renders of the forests and the mountains, but it's gonna be slow. But at least it can do it. So yeah, That is for the next update. You need to reinstall the presets for Final Cut and the presets for Random Flow as well. Meaning that you have to delete the old presets for this one. Or probably just you can probably just overwrite them. But the problem with a copy paste is that the old preset that is not going to match any name from the new preset will be there. So it's better to just manually go there and delete those folders. You can use the new files for the presets as reference to delete the old ones, and then you can go ahead and copy paste the old ones, add the new ones. I mean, so I wish there was a better way to do the presets. Like you can just install the presets using Blender, but it's not possible. And for the batch file, I can probably create a batch file, but I only know Windows system, and I don't want to wreck anyone's folder system. Maybe you have your own setup for that, but yeah, the batch file will be actually dangerous. The old school batch file, remember those? So yeah, I'm gonna end this video here, and the update will be coming. I'm just gonna prep everything. I'm going to the bugs are all sorted out, I think, and I'm just gonna prep the files, and then in a couple of days I will bring about the update, and some of the add-ons will be updated without any emails or any or what do you call it, warning or any announcement for it, because the changes are too small and there won't be really any effect to your workflow or using them. But for major changes, it will be for Random Flow, Final Cut, so yeah, and also Random Starship will also be slightly changed, and it will be updated as well. And the presets will also need to be reinstalled. Okay, that's it. And Patreon and store links in the description. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.